been together for a million years, and I bet we'll be together for a million more. Oh, it's like I started breathing on the night we kissed, and I can't remember what I ever did before. What would we do, baby, without us? What would we do, baby, without us?
Why did I retire from the FGC? Well, you can argue there were 2 times that I retired from the FGC, okay? My first retiring was 2007. And why did I retire at that point? Because I had a major back injury, okay? And it was very hard for me to travel because all the time I either had numbness or shooting pain in my legs and lower back. So I couldn't really drive to go to tournaments anymore. So that year to go to tournaments, I was like going on trains, and I was trying to just fly. And even then, it was just very, very limiting. And it was very, let me put it this way. It wasn't easy and it wasn't pretty. It was pretty painful. Okay, that was number 1. Number 2, because I had for 3 straight years, 2005, 6, and 7, spent an incredible amount of money and time invested in competitive fighting games. Okay. And basically, by the end of 2007, when Evo had ended, I kind of looked at everything that I had done, and I looked at my performance in tournaments. I looked at what I had done running tournaments and all of that. And essentially, here's what had happened. Okay, first of all, my performance in tournaments. I had done well. Everywhere that I had gone, I had won or placed in Super Turbo. No matter what tournament it was or whatever, I was always at the top of Super Turbo in the United States. And I didn't leave the country, but any tournament of Super Turbo I entered in the U.S., I either won it or I was like top 5, top 3, so, sometimes depended on the situation and the version and the controls, etc. But I'd essentially done what I set out to do. I'd proved that I was good, and people knew that I was good at Super Turbo in the community. So there wasn't any money to be won. There wasn't any big spoils or prizes. It wouldn't have even mattered if I won Evo. No one cares. Being honest, like back then, it was no big deal. Even if you were the national champion, no one cared. You didn't really win any money for it. So 3 straight years of me doing that, I was like, was the grind really worth it? And then on top of that, I was looking around me at basically the community, and essentially with all the work that I had put in to start running tournaments and doing things, there was a very big, healthy community, okay? And they had now started to run locals. They had started to do all kinds of fun stuff. And I was like, so I'm really not needed at this point. At one point, I was. Like, I was donating my time, my money, my efforts to run all these tournaments. But there was already other people who were stepping up to do it. And I was like, so if I step back, it won't really negatively affect the community at all. Okay? So those were the 2 major factors. It was my health and the fact that really, even if you were the top of the food chain at that point in competitive Street Fighter, it didn't really matter. I wanted to do something different with my time. I felt like I was investing all of this time and nothing was really happening productive for my life. Does that make sense? Now, the second time that I retired from the FGC, I would argue would be I was a YouTuber, and I started to travel to tournaments again to play Street Fighter 4 and Marvel vs. Capcom 3. So that was around 2010 through, like, let's say 2012, about 2 years. So it was kind of like my revival in Street Fighter, because it was a big resurgence in the popularity of Street Fighter again, because Street Fighter 4 had reinvigorated fighting games. It was the fighting game renaissance at the time, right? I was making tons of content for my YouTube channel that was getting tons of views, and I was making tons of money on it, but I wasn't really playing competitively. So I started to travel and go to tournaments again and cover them, but I wasn't really playing competitive at all, to be honest. I was never a top player in Street Fighter 4 or Marvel 3 at all. I was basically just there to cover it, and because I was a known YouTuber, it was hype if I was there. People liked having DSP there to cover their tournaments and stuff like that. But that was really it, and I did that for about 2 years, and then basically what happened was, number 1, again, another injury. I hurt my neck. Instead of my back this time, it was my neck. So I was at a tournament, and I had insane shooting pain going from my neck all the way down through the front of my arm into my thumb. Okay? And basically, I couldn't feel my hand. So here I am at a tournament trying to play, and I can't feel my hand. I can't play any games. And I'm like, what did I come here for, right? You know, what am I here for? I can't even play because I'm numb. My whole thumb is numb and everything. I can't even I can't even tell if I'm hitting the button, right? And at this time, you know, this is around 2012. This is when I was becoming way more prominent on YouTube. You know, 2011, 2012 were some of my biggest years on YouTube. So me playing a game, doing a full game playthrough and review was way more popular and more interesting to an audience than me going to a fighting game tournament and covering it. There was an audience for that, but it was a smaller audience. People were pushing me away from covering fighting games and saying, we want you to do more variety of mainstream games. I mean, no exaggeration, at that tournament where I was all messed up, my hand was all messed up, I went back to my hotel room, and because I couldn't play fighting games, I played Dragon Age 2 in the hotel room, recording parts and uploading to YouTube as if I were at home. So basically, I skipped the whole tournament. I just stayed in the hotel room playing Dragon Age 2 for 2-3 days because I couldn't play fighting games. And by the way, the playthrough did incredibly well, made me tons of money. So basically what I was seeing was, oh, you know, the fighting game thing, that's for a different audience. That's for a crowd who they're going to be so into the competitive nature of the games. They're going to play the living hell out of the games. They're going to play at that high level. And I didn't really have a desire, nor was there a demand for me to do that at that point. People wanted me to just cover regular mainstream video games, didn't care about the competitive nature of fighting games in my content anymore. So I basically stepped away from it. So that was, you know, my old competitive days were due to health and the fact that I invested so much time and money and it wasn't going anywhere. And then the second time, the Renaissance resurgence, I also stepped away because people wanted me to do more variety of other stuff. They just didn't care about me going to tournaments and covering them. They would much rather see me play all the hot new games. So that's that. There's your answer. Connor John, thanks for $2. I don't care what Mike Watson says. No one does. Completely irrelevant. No one gives two shits. Thanks for $2. What a stupid thing. All right. It's a good question. That was not a good question. All right. So let's hang out for a little bit further before we start with Dark Souls 2. Supplements, never. I'm not interested in supplements. What do I think caused the back injury? Likely not taking care of myself, being overweight, and heavily drinking when I was younger. You know, not exercising. Here's the weird thing, is that my dad ended up getting exactly the same back injury as me, only later. Like, I had it in my 20s. He got it in his, 50s, which is bizarre. Like, it makes sense to get it in your 50s, not in your 20s. But he got exactly the same back injury as me. Identical. Same injury, same symptoms, same everything. He had to have the same kind of, therapy. Everything the same. So maybe it's partially hereditary. Maybe it's a genetic thing that both of us have bad backs, and I inherited the bad back, but it just so happens because I wasn't taking care of myself in my youth that I got the effects of it first, and he got the effects of it later. Could be. Connor John sent me another $2. It's just all nonsense that I would never read, but I'll take his money, so thanks for another $2, Connor John. Very nice. Do I think the FGC was jealous of my rise to YouTube fame? I can outright tell you that at the beginning, we're talking 2009 through 2012-ish, all right? A lot of people in the FGC were pissed at me because they didn't like me from the old days when I was a shit talker in the community. And then to see me come to prominence and getting tons of views and having a good living doing YouTube videos, but not having to grind to be an FGC player, they were pissed. They were upset that DSP is out there making videos about fighting games, but they're not top-level videos. He's not going to tournaments and winning. Why does he get so many views, and why is he making so much money? Outright people talk shit about me for no reason. And then they came back and apologized to me later behind the scenes saying, sorry, I just got caught up in all the nonsense. You know, I don't actually dislike you, just that I was kind of upset that you're doing so good. The truth is, see, moral support is saying all kinds of stuff. The truth is, if you're talking about FGC stuff, the modern FGC is not the old FGC anymore. The people who are involved in the FGC stuff now, that's not the same people from when I was in it. So to be honest, I have no connection to it. Like right now, if I were to go to a tournament, I probably wouldn't know anyone. I wouldn't recognize anyone, maybe one person. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a whole new generation of people in the FGC now. So no relation, as they say, you know, it's weird. But yeah, it's just the truth. There's a whole generation of people now running big tournaments and everything, and I have nothing to do with it. You know, I'm not involved. Soul at 2 a.m. did a $5 super chat, and he says, do you think there's a difference between toys and collectibles and stuff?